I just need space. Have you heard that, or have you used those words in your relationship? Now, hearing those four words from your spouse, or if you've used them, it sends chills up and down the spine of the spouse or the partner that hears from you, or if you hear from them. That tends to be what happens, right? It sends your mind spiraling in places that you never thought you'd go. Now, if you've heard that those words, you probably would agree with me in what I've just said. Now, the question becomes why? Why would you, or why does a spouse use those words, those four words? I just need space. We're going to talk about that in today's video. Hey, I'm Kingsley. And before I begin to explore the question with you, let me say thanks for joining me on this video broadcast. Today, we're going to unpack the topic, why your spouse asks for space and what to do about it. What I've heard more often than not usually comes down to this. That person who's asking or making that statement, that statement, they're feeling alone and disconnected in their marriage. And if you've ever used that, you may agree that the reason why you would use it because you feel alone or disconnected. Now, there might be other reasons, and I'm going to share three of those reasons with you today, why I think it may be used, but it could be a number of reasons. But it all comes down to this, that there's a feeling of alone, feeling lonely, or there's a disconnection in the marriage. And so a person is wondering, what should they do? But ultimately, what this means is that they need some time to themselves to think and reflect on their feelings and the future of the relationship. In this video, we'll be exploring some of those reasons and what should you do if that happened to you. Now, if this is your first time hearing me and is wondering, who am I to be speaking on topics like this? Let me just say, I'm Kingsley Grant, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified relationship coach. I help couples make marriages happier again. Now, having counseled and coached hundreds of couples over the past several years, having been married myself for almost 4 decades, I think I'm more than qualified from a personal and a professional standpoint to talk about topics like this one, and with confidence. And I hope that you'll appreciate that, because I'm bringing to you those two angles in talking about a topic like this. And let me also recommend that you listen to my podcast at happiermarriagesecrets.com/podcast, and or read my blogs that are at happiermarriagesecrets.com/blog to hear more about my thoughts on topics similar to this one. Now, at the end of this episode, I'll share with you how to get access to some free resources that I have to offer. So let's dive into today's topic, why your spouse asks for space and what to do about it. By the way, if you would like to get instant feedback on the state of your marriage and what to do about it, then you may want to take you want to take the Happier Marriage Assessment quiz. You can do that in less than 90 seconds. And you will have your score immediately. And then you'll also get access to a downloadable PDF that explains your score and what that means. And if this interests you, you can take the short quiz at happiermarriagesecrets.com/quiz. The link will be in the description that follows this video. So why would your spouse ask for space? And if he or she does, what should you do about it? Now, that is the question, and this video will provide you with the answers. Now, there's 3 reasons why I believe spouses ask for space when feeling alone and disconnected. The first thing that may come to your mind if your partner says to you, I just need more space. I believe the first thing that comes to us, a partner, come to your mind, if that's you, is that person is probably interested. They've lost interest in you and is interested in someone else, and is creating space to pull away from you, right? That tends to be one of the reasons I hear more often than not of why this person thinks his wife or her husband is asking for space. Now, it's understandable that the mind would go there first, especially if it seems to come out of nowhere, even though it's hardly ever the case that this comes from nowhere. It's something that is almost like you could see it coming, and finally it's said. So here are 3 reasons why other than what you're thinking, maybe what the reason is why they would say, I just need more space. Reason number 1, your spouse may be feeling emotionally overwhelmed and needs space to process those feelings. They feel like there's so much going on in the relationship and their emotions are all over the place. Have that ever happened to you? And they don't know what else to do. They've exhausted in their mind everything they can, and they just see more of it coming. They feel as if they're being suffocated in the relationship, and they're overwhelmed. And they said the only thing that comes to their mind, I need space. Got to have space. I can't breathe, right? Relationally, they're saying that. Now, they may not use those words, but that's what is going through their minds. And maybe if you've ever been there, you would agree with that, right? Reason number 2, why a spouse may use those words, they may feel like they're not getting enough support or attention from their partner. And they just need space to figure out how to address that. They may feel like they've done everything possible, dressed seductively. They may have, done things that hopefully their partner would see, said things, and it really didn't amount to much. And they feel like, their support system is from others. Their husband or their wife is not supporting them as they would like them to. More than often, they find that they're being thrown under the bus, or somehow others are being supported and they don't get that. They're not getting the attention from their spouse. And they feel like, well, why even bother? And so they'll say, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out what I need to do, because I just don't feel like this relationship is working or is going the direction I want it to go. And so because they don't have the support or get the attention they're looking for, they just say, I just need some space. That could be also a reason. A third reason that I've listed here is your spouse might be questioning the future of the marriage. They might just seeing signs, and they're wondering, are you even interested in them anymore? The romance is dying out. The conversations are getting less and less. The interactions are getting less sexual activity, less physical activity, like affection, hugging, is always arguing and fighting and all that's going on. And they're questioning, why even bother? I could do better on my own. And so they're reassessing whether or not this relationship is working, and should they just call it quits. And so they'll say, before I make any irrational decisions or emotional, driven decisions, I just need some space. It could be coming from those places. And it could be their way of crying out for help. It could be their way of saying to you, something got to change, because we cannot continue to live this way. That may be the cry of their hearts, and they just don't know what else to do. Now, I would like for you to comment below if this makes sense, or even if it doesn't, I'd like to hear from you either way. Now, I will respond to your comments that you put down below. So whether it's one of agreement or not, or if it makes sense, or you could even testify of you experiencing this, please, join the conversation. Comment below and let me know if this is resonating with you or makes sense. Now, what to do when your spouse asks for space? What if you heard those from your husband or your wife? What should you do? Now, obviously, it's a punch in the gut kind of thing, especially if the relationship in your mind is really not in the place that statement or statements kind of matches, right? Now, I know if you've been in a very a very rocky and rough relationship or marriage, you may not be surprised that your spouse say those words. You may be thinking that yourself, may have been thinking that yourself. Now, what often is a first reaction is one of possibly anger, or just, trying to hold it in, you pull apart and just remain quiet, and the silent treatment. But your silent treatment is so loud, the person can still see and hear how angry, and they may have expected that. Some spouse may not even react. It's almost like, okay, go ahead, take the space you need, and as if they don't care. So I know there are exceptions to what I'm sharing here, but I want to mention that this is one of the reactions that will probably, if you behave that way, will confirm to your spouse, your husband, your wife, that what they're saying and the reason they're asking for space is justified. They're just simply saying, see, this is the reason why I need space. We just can't have conversations. We can't talk about things. And maybe it's the way you've treated them. And they're simply saying, I just got to get some space to survive, or to live, right? So what might be a more helpful response? The answer I'm going to give you is probably going to trigger you, possibly, or you might tune me out, or you may, but I believe this is it's my answer. My response is for those who care about their marriage and want to do something about it. So if that's you, then my answer is for you. So it's only the emotionally mature spouse will be open to these suggestions. So the first thing I want to say is, you want to validate or acknowledge your spouse's feelings and try to understand where they're coming from. I know it's easier said than done, right? I hear it. Yes, you're right. It's easier said than done, but this is where emotional maturity, this is where emotional intelligence, this is where managing emotions are so important. And this is why I think it's so, what I teach in my program, and, other things I've done, is this is where I talk about emotional intelligence or emotional regulation, because you want to be able to sit in the emotions if you can, and try to understand, where is this coming from? Where are they coming from? Validate their feelings and just say, hey, you may say something like this, I could see why you would say that. I know I may not be the best spouse, and I may not have been treating you the way that you wanted to be treated. And I can see why this is your only way to get my attention. Something like that, right? So that's the first thing I want to mention. Second thing I want to mention is this: give your spouse the space they need, while also making it clear that you're there to support them. You're not mad with them. You're not angry, even though you're feeling that emotions. You're just simply saying no. Because remember, now you can feel the emotions, but you don't have to act according to the emotions. So make it clear that, you know what, you're going to support them. You're going to be there to help them walk this through and do whatever you need to do to somehow create a better environment. I just did a video, and I hope you've watched that, about emotional safety and how to create emotional safety. And I leave a link in this description, and you'll see also at the end an upcoming video. I'll link that so you can watch that if you have not yet watched that video about how to create an emotional safe space, because this is where I think you can have this conversation. So give your spouse the space he or she needs, while making it clear you're going to be there to support them. And the third thing I want to suggest is, maybe use this time apart to reflect on your own role in the relationship, in the marriage. How have you been contributing to this? How is it that your spouse has gotten to this place? And think about ways you can improve your communication and connection with your spouse. This may be a time for an opportunity for a reset, to really take the relationship into, in a more serious way. And I would also recommend strongly that if your partner is open to this, get some counseling. And if he or she isn't, you get some counseling. Walk this through, but not to throw your partner under the bus, not to go and bash your partner in counseling. No, I have heard that, and I've always said to clients who come to me and would be bashing seemingly their spouse, I would say, okay, I hear that part, but what is your role, what do you think you're responsible for? Because bashing your spouse is not going to be helpful. You want to be able to come in and present where you need to grow, where your shortcomings are, and why your partner would even make those statements, right? So I believe that this could be an opportunity. It's not the end of the world. I don't think it's your marriage is over if it's been said. And I'd love to hear what you think. What do you think about that? Do you think maybe what I'm saying makes sense? Again, comment below and let me hear. I don't think it's the end of the marriage. I believe it could be the beginning of a new kind of relationship that needs to be put in place, right? Because this could really lead to the time that you could begin to reflect on the relationship, begin to learn how to understand and be empathetic, and talk about issues, right? So that's why I have also created a deck of cards that I think is so important for this kind of thing, that before it gets to this place where a person said, I need space, I want to recommend this Connect Strong. Is a deck of cards that I've created for conversation. It's conversation. I call it a conversation starter, the ultimate conversation starter for couples. And what it does is 53 cards that talk about situations you can have during date or a home or driving, not driving. I would want to suggest you sit across from each other and talk about this. And all the instructions about how to use these cards are there. If you're interested in this deck of cards, not only in the US right now, because it's requires shipping and handling until I can figure out some other ways. It's very brand new, so I've not yet figured all the logistics, but right now it's shipping and handling. And so if you're interested in getting your hand on a deck of cards like this, Connect Strong, now it comes, this is what it looks like. And also for now, first batch out, you would get a mesh bag in which you can put this in. You can hang it up by your door so you can always remember it. You not put aside sometimes a card in the deck of cards you put aside somewhere and can't find it. This you can just hang up someplace where you can always be reminded. And when you're on a date, you just grab it and go on a date and use the cards and come back and put it back. So all the instructions are there, and there's a QR code that's on here you can click on that will take you to where you can get the instructions, PDF, and a video to describe what it is you can do. So I want to recommend you to get that. If you're interested, you can go to kingslegrand.com/cards, kingslegrand.com/cards, and the link will be below in the description that follows this video. So my friend, thank you for taking the time to listen, to watch, but I want you to really do me three things really quickly. Do three things really quickly. Number one, smash the subscribe button. If you like what you hear, click the like button and click on the notification bell so you'll always be notified of any new release that I do in this channel. So you don't want to miss out, as you can tell. I hope so. So thanks for watching and doing those three things I've just asked you for. And remember to listen to the Happier Marriage Secrets podcast by going to happiermarriagesecrets.com/podcast, and you get free access there. So again, all the links will be in the description below. And with that said, my friend, let's go and make marriages happier again. And I'll see you on the next release of my next video. Okay? God bless.